Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg will give testimony to 3 congressional committees in 2 hearings this week. He'll address how Facebook's user data was improperly accessed by Cambridge Analytica. The consulting firm used the information for politically targeted advertising during the 2016 presidential election. Around 87 million Facebook users had their information mined. This all comes as Facebook suspended another data analytics firm, CubeU, for allegedly collecting user data improperly. Facebook only took action after a news outlet alerted the company. CubeU told CBS News in a statement, CubeU takes great care to collect data in compliance with all relevant privacy provisions and laws. Sandy Perikilis led the team at Facebook responsible for data privacy violations on the company's app platform. He says he warned Facebook in 2012 about potential risks, like the Cambridge Analytica scandal. Sandy, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
What, Sandy, do you want to hear Mark Zuckerberg say right away at the hearing to prove that something's different there?
Well, I think the first thing he needs to do is he needs to address the corporate governance of Facebook. He is unaccountable at the moment. He controls the company 100%. And so it's not a good situation to have someone who has that much power over a company of this much importance.
You say he's unaccountable, but he's on the hook right now and being talked about every second. He's going in front of Congress, and they've just lost millions of dollars on the market. So
of course,
that's a lot of pressure on him. He seems pretty accountable.
Well, it's a lot of pressure, but keep in mind, no one can fire him. There's no independent board that can step in and say, hey, Mark, you're not doing a good enough job. We need you to step aside.
Let's talk specifically about the privacy concerns that you warned Facebook about. Explain essentially how these outside apps got access to our information.
Yeah. So it's important to remember that apps on Facebook, when you use them, they ask you for permission to access specific kinds of data, whether it's your name or your email address or your friend list or photos or other information. And once you click allow or tap allow, all that information passes from Facebook to the application developer. And the problem is that once the data goes to the developer, there's no insight into what the developer is doing with the data. And there's no control by Facebook as to what they do. And this has been a known problem since 2010.
Why did Facebook allow all these apps to have access to our private data?
Yeah, it's a good question. And the reason that they wanted to do that to begin with is they wanted developers to build really rich, full-featured applications that were social for the platform.
Well, that would then help Facebook make money.
Yes.
When you left in 2012, did you leave on good terms? Because I'm trying to determine, is this a case of sour grapes on your part that, listen, I told you guys? Because you have now been gone from the company for quite some time.
Yeah. So I did, and I went and worked for a company that was doing Facebook advertising, working closely in partnership with Facebook for 2 years after. Mm-hmm. So I continued to work with the company, and I continued to believe in the company. And it's only recently that I've started to become really concerned about some of the implications of what this data can be used for.
Like what?
What's new is that there are companies like Cambridge Analytica that are able to use this data to understand and predict how you're going to vote. They can predict your personality type. That's why they wanted this data from Facebook. And they built all these models, according to Chris Wiley, who's the whistleblower at Cambridge Analytica. Well, they're building all these models that can predict your behavior. And then they can use that information to go back into Facebook and buy ads that target you and try to manipulate you based on your personality and your voting preference.
Well, Facebook says they have taken steps to prevent this from happening again, including banning app developers who don't agree to audits, making privacy tools easier to find, and showing users how to revoke data permissions. Is that enough?
Well, they've taken some steps to address some of the most obvious concerns here. I think that, frankly, the way the platform was built to begin with wasn't built with the safety of users in mind, and that's a huge problem. They could have built it in a much different way, where they had a much more limited set of features, and they controlled the data, and they just allowed developers to access little modules that would let you see friends.
What did you think when you spoke up when you were there? Do you think you could have done more? Do you take any responsibility? If you saw this, Sandy, coming, do you think that you should have shouted a little louder?
I probably could have done more, to be totally frank. Like I saw some of the risks coming, and other people at the company obviously understood this risk as well.
Did you tell Mark and Cheryl specifically?
I don't remember having a specific conversation with Mark or Cheryl about this, but this was well known at the company. There was a Wall Street Journal article in 2010 about this issue, about a company called Rapleaf that was taking application data, personally identifiable data from Facebook, and passing it, or getting that information and then selling it to ad networks.
So when you heard the breach, you thought what?
I thought, oh no, like this is something that they've known about, that I've known about, that I tried to raise some alarm about, and now it's being used for a really devastating purpose.
All right, Sandy Parakilas, I think people are listening. Thank you very much.
I'm glad they are.
Me too.